listening to Julia's Trucking Cafe Trucking News Hour. Hello, and welcome to Julia's Trucking Cafe Trucking News Hour. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so happy that you're here and that you want to listen to the trucking news. As always, I have lots of news to get to, so let's get right to it. A North Dakota Police Department share an impressive video of a 1 million pound superload that was on the move. The Watford City Police Department shared a stunning video of a superload passing through their state. It was captured on Highway 85 in North Dakota. According to the North Dakota Highway Patrol, Barnhart Crane and Rigging was moving a 25-foot wide, 1 million pound, 36-axle turbine, and the final destination of the load was Saskatchewan, Canada. So you never know when you're passing those oversized loads how heavy they really are, so always take care. And I appreciate everybody listening in and tuning in and staying a consistent listener. I greatly appreciate it as I've been going through a bunch of personal stuff in my life with opening up my company, as I mentioned on the last episode of 125. If you haven't looked at that episode wondering what happened to me, please go ahead and check it out. It is on Rumble, BitChute, and YouTube. It would be episode 125. I thought that you listeners would like to know and keep apprised of exactly, what happened to the Trucking Cafe. I enjoyed listening to it. Pandora has kicked me off. I've been trying to resubmit the podcast to Pandora, but for some goofy reason, maybe because I, just couldn't do episodes, that they decided, well, you're not consistent, so we'll go ahead and kick you off. Well, oh well. There's not a whole lot I can do about it, but I still am on Spotify, Spreaker, all the rest of them, even Audible in Amazon. So please tune in. I'm sorry to my Pandora listeners, but please tune in at like Audible or anything like that has podcast apps, even iTunes or Android, the podcast app. All right, let's get back to the news, shall we? FMCSA shuts down 2 related Houston trucking companies for egregious violations. They ordered 2 Texas motor carriers to immediately stop operations after one of the companies shifted to another company following an out-of-service order. So FMCSA put the first company out of service, okay? Then they're like, oh, no, we're still going to operate, but we're going to shift everything over to this other company that's like a sister company to ours. The FMCSA declared the Houston-based carriers, Texas Interstate Express and PAC Express LLC, to be imminent hazards to public safety and ordered the companies to immediately cease interstate and intrastate operations. The companies were put out of service on November 11th. The FMCSA began a compliance investigation into Texas Interstate Express due to the fact that they had more than doubled the national average of vehicle out-of-service rating and almost 10 times the national average driver out-of-service rating. So in this compliance investigation, they come in, they give you an audit, and when they gave them the audit, this is what they find out. So they say that the Texas Interstate Express shifted operations over to PAC Express, and operated as PAC Express despite the fact that Texas Interstate Express had been issued an out-of-service order for failing to comply with a demand to produce records required to conduct their investigation/audit. So they were hiding records, in other words. So they tried to skirt around the government, which, you're going to get caught eventually. and start operating as another entity. When the FMCSA began to investigate Pack Express, they found the carrier to be egregiously non-compliant with the federal regulations. Investigators uncovered violations of regulations including controlled substances and alcohol use in testing, driver's license standards, driver qualifications, parts and accessories needed for safe operations, hours of service of drivers, vehicle inspections, repairs, and maintenance records. Now, I'm not going to read this whole thing because it's a big long paragraph and I don't want to bore you. But their FMCSA issued an imminent hazard out of service order, and that stated that Texas Interstate Express and Pack Express avoidance of compliance with the safety regulations and out of service order substantially increased the likelihood of serious injury or death for your drivers and the motoring public if they were not discontinued immediately. So, yeah, when the FMCSA comes in and closes your doors, you better comply with that out-of-service order. Otherwise, it possibly could be jail time if you kill somebody or, vehicular manslaughter or whatever. So I went just a little thing about what I did, what happened to me, because now I am a carrier. I always like to say what I'm carrying, I have no clue, but ha 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 ha. But anyway, I had to go through what's called a new entry audit because I'm a new entry authority, having my own numbers and everything, and a carrier. I had to go through and they had to make sure that I was in compliance with, I had to send in logs, maintenance records, any type of my letter of authority, and a whole bunch of cab card, vehicle registration and everything. They gave you a whole list, a laundry list of what you had to turn in. And I had to email it, and as long as I turned in everything they asked for, I passed. And for 18 months from when I got my authority, which will be April, then my authority will become permanent. So there's a little tidbit of something that I had to go through, and that was just in September. So now in our next story, 2 of West Virginia Turnpike travel plazas are going to be closed in early 2023 for demolition. And when they're going to be rebuilt, they'll be having more truck parking. West Virginia Governor Jim Justice announced major plans to upgrade the 2 busy travel plazas starting in 2023, with an emphasis on adding more parking for commercial vehicles. The Beckley and Bluestone travel plazas, located on the West Virginia Turnpike, will be closed for demolition starting February 1st of 2023. Justice says that both service plazas will be rebuilt from the ground up. Construction is expected to be completed by late 2024, so over a year. They plan to add 10 truck parking places to the Bluestone Travel Plaza, bringing the total number of truck parking spots to 79, and they're going to add 35 truck parking spots to the Beckley facility, bringing that total of parking spots up to 165. They said the Morton Travel Plaza near Burnwell will remain open until renovations into that facility, they won't begin until 2025. West Virginia plans on spending $152 million over 3 years to upgrade those service plazas. The Morton Travel Plaza near Burnwell will remain open, which the author of this article wrote it twice. So they're not even paying attention to how they write an article. And Justice said that the redeveloped travel plazas will offer expanded food concepts, 24/7 Mountain State Market convenience store, outdoor dining options, expanded parking for tractor trailers and passenger cars, EV charging stations. You know what an EV is? Electric vehicle charging stations, separated vehicle and tractor trailer fueling options, which means separate car and semi, which they already have, picnic area and pet areas. Each year, 3.3 million people, double the population of West Virginia. They drive the West Virginia Turnpike, Justice said. This is our chance to show them almost heaven, West Virginia, quoting John Denver. So we better not screw it up. And now we're going to have the best facilities that showcase everything that West Virginia has to offer. Blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah. And in Wallingford, Connecticut, a warehouse fire in this next story is called a sheer fluke after damaging multiple trucks and trailers. Investigators have been unable to determine the cause of a fire that damaged multiple trucks and trailers at a business in Connecticut. The acting fire marshal, Brian Schock, said he cannot determine the cause of the fire. As far as the origin of the fire, we do believe it began in the engine of one of the tractors. Fire spread to several trucks, damaging a total of 4 rigs and 7 trailers. No other substantial property damage was reported. Because the fire happened over the weekend, they didn't ship anything until Sunday night or Monday. It gave them a window to get some tractors in. In the long term, we're looking obviously to replace all of that equipment, but it really didn't change anything, said Peter Malone, the CEO of Thurston Foods. Malone says that the fire started with a 2018 truck that had been sitting unused for about 18 hours or was considered to be in good working condition. While no exact cause had been identified, investigators do not believe the fire was intentional or the result of human error. I do not believe the cause of this fire is of intentional nature, but I cannot determine the cause of the fire, said the fire chief, calling the blaze a sheer fluke. There was no remote hint of vandalism or arson or human error or negligence, said Malone. Now, if you're watching the video, you're going to love this little trick. In this next story, a Nissan driver was ticketed for driving up and partially crashing off of a car carrier parking lot in Florida. Florida firefighters rescued a motorist who drove up the ramp of a car carrier and then partially crashed off of it, leaving his vehicle dangling. Now, the car is, to describe to my audio listeners, podcast listeners, he drove up the back of a car carrier. He somehow turned it so where it's perpendicular. So say like the car carrier is at noon and 6. The car is at like 9 and 3 on the top ramp of the car carrier. This happened around 10:30 at night in Venice, Florida. According to firefighters, a car carrier was dropping off a vehicle to a nearby resident when this occurred. The car carrier was parked with its hazards on under a street light with the ramp down when the vehicle hit it. Firefighters say that a middle-aged man driving a Nissan Maxima drove up a car carrier and crashed near the top, leaving it hanging over the edge, precariously close to falling off. Yeah, it was only hanging up there by the front tires. When rescue crews arrived on the scene, they found the man still sitting in the Nissan unhurt. The fire rescue says that crews used industrial straps to secure the front of the car to the car carrier, then had a wrecker stabilize it from the back. So a wrecker got up underneath and lifted the ass end up so they could get the guy out. Then the driver was successfully extracted. The motorist was cited for careless driving. You think? By Venice police. Yeah, okay. And I thought I've seen it all. So, I'm going to talk about this, even though I'm not trying to stay apolitical here. But, back in November, the Capitol Christmas tree arrived at D.C. Hardy Brothers Trucking Company out of North Carolina was a trucking company responsible for this tree's safe transportation. They were selected to transport the tree all the way back in July. The tree was then selected from the national forests in North Carolina and hauled to the Capitol, along with thousands of handmade ornaments from the people of North Carolina and several smaller trees for the offices inside the Capitol. And a husband and wife team hauled it up to the Capitol. So I figured since it's, Christmas season, you'd like to know a little bit about, try to report on the Capitol tree every year. And in our next story, and one quick thing, let me interrupt again. There's going to be a new format to the shows to let all our listeners know. I'm slowing down. I'm not going to be reading as many articles. Try to talk more about the articles if I can. So instead of having like 20 or 30 articles to bore you to death, I'm going to cut it about in half or do like 1 day's worth instead of like a week's worth. Then hopefully, with time permitting, I could do more shows per week. And I'm not playing catch up, but starting, the end of this year into 2023, which will be my 4th anniversary of, actually, 2018, so that it would be 4 years now, so it's going to be 5 years. January of 2023, holy cow, time goes by fast. That I've been doing this show, and even though I took a hiatus, but kept thinking about the show and really wanted to report on the news for everybody. It got to me as far as all the drugs coming into the country and all the illegals coming into the country, and there was never any good things to report. And after a while, it kind of gets depressing. But anyways, again, so it's going to be a newer format, and please stay tuned for the Rookie Roundtable at the end of the show. Please listen all the way through, especially if you're a new listener to the show. I try to talk about tips and tricks and this kind of thing, especially now that winter is upon us. And even when I went through my first blizzard, I was almost caught in that blizzard that hit Colorado over this last week. So I got a glutton for punishment. Now I got another load going right back out to Denver. But I should be out of there before the cold snap comes in. But anyway, so that's a little bit of a break. No, it's going to be commercial free. But I still have the Patriot Supply, if anybody's interested, on the website. So that's all you're going to hear. It's just strictly going to be news. It's strictly me talking about the articles and then the Rookie Roundtable. So I hope you all enjoy the new format. Please leave a like, follow, subscribe, a comment on the episodes. Whether you listen to it via audio on the podcast app or any of the apps, or you're a YouTube, Rumble, or BitChute listener. So again, thank you so much for your support. So back to the news. Are four-wheelers demanding payment for Love's fuel mix-up that damaged their cars? It's reported that diesel delivery made back in November at a Love's in Clark County, Ohio, caused multiple motorists to fill their cars with diesel. Somehow or another, diesel was dropped into 87 octane tank, said Mark Holt, the director of the Auditor's Office Weights and Measures. Several motorists say that the cars are acting up after being filled with the wrong fuel at no fault of their own. We started getting on the interstate and it started going in and out, said Chris North, whose Honda Accord started acting up on the highway after fueling up at the Loves. They said, I only have a week's worth of a rental car. I said, well, you could pay up front. Or, well, can you pay up front? And they said, no, we don't do that either. Other motorists say their estimated repairs range from $250 to $800, and the solutions range from flushing and draining their fuel tank to new fuel pumps and injectors. Love's has confirmed that 15 drivers reports of car issues. People have reported that car issues, but believe that the number could grow as high as 25. Back in November, Love's was notified that there was an isolated incident in a regular unleaded tank at its Springfield location. The issue was immediately addressed at the location, and Love's was resolving the issue with impacted customers. Love's said they'll reimburse customers for repairs they consider reasonable and necessary, but did not offer any upfront financial assistance or explain what sort of repairs may be considered, air quotes, reasonable. Well, of course they're going to say that. See, this is what I'm talking about the article. Love's is not going to pay any more money out than they absolutely have to. Let's get real, people. They're in it to make money, not to dish it out. Because one of their gas trucks screwed up and put diesel in an 87 octane tank. Did that driver get fired? Who done it? Yeah, how many more screw-ups is there going to be? So again, they'll cover reasonable expenses. Well, North is asking, well, what's reasonable? I feel the company should tell you what they're going to cover up front and pay for the expenses up front, he said. Well, they're not going to do that. They're going to want you to get an estimate. And then you're going to turn around and they'll take the lowest estimate if you give them 3 estimates. So you got to run around with a busted car that you can hardly drive to get 3 different estimates from 3 different shops to turn around and send it to Love's, and they might pay you, but it's got to be the lowest one. And then they're going to probably ask, well, don't you have insurance? So, yeah, you know the drill. It's not going to be easy peasy. They're going to make it difficult like anybody else. And finally, there again, this show is going to be I want to leave you with some good news. Wait 1 second. Yeah. Here we go. So a truck driver risks his life to save another driver who was pinned in a double semi-crash. This happened in Kentucky on an on-ramp on 75. Rodney Jones Sr., who's a truck driver, says he was driving his rig along his usual route from the airport when he saw a semi-truck crash into the back of another, with a car that was also involved in this accident. Jones decided then to pull over onto the ramp connecting I-75 and 275 in Erlanger and see what he could do to help. He says, I quote, "I went to the first truck and the driver was kind of in and out of it," Jones said. "I asked if he was all right, and he said yes." But Jones says the driver in the second truck was a different story. "When I got to that truck, it was smashed," Jones recalled. "The driver was in the truck yelling, 'Help, help, help!' That driver was pinned in his seat by the steering wheel and was losing the feeling in his legs. I said, 'All right, calm down. Help is here, calm down.'" Jones and another passerby then tried to pull the door open but were unsuccessful, so the two smashed a window open on the opposite side. The men were still unable to get inside, so he stayed with the trapped driver until first responders could arrive. As the first responders worked, Jones moved his truck to direct traffic and shield the crash scene. The trapped driver was taken to the hospital, but his condition along with the cause of the wreck was not known at the time of the article. Daphne Jones, Rodney's wife, was pretty excited about the story. I was telling him, "Oh my God, baby, you're a hero." I'm like, "That's amazing that you jumped out of your truck and you helped somebody." I was pretty pumped up about what he did. I did say to him, "Oh my God, you got out on the expressway. What, that's pretty dangerous." He replied, "I didn't even think about the danger or anything around me. Somebody needed my help." Jones continued that the Bible says, do unto others as he would have others do unto you. I've been a truck driver for over 30 years, and I've been blessed to never have been in an accident like that. But I'm pretty sure if I were involved in an accident, I would appreciate someone to stop and try to assist me and help me as well. So thank you so much, Mr. Rodney Jones Sr., for being our Highway Hero of the Month. And I hope everybody has a very happy holidays and a very Merry Christmas. And please stay tuned for the Rookie Roundtable and another episode soon. Welcome to this week's episode of the Rookie Roundtable. This episode of the Rookie Roundtable will be discussing winter weather driving tips and how to prepare for winter driving. These following slides are more for the newbie drivers who haven't really driven a semi in the snow or in cold weather conditions. We're fixing to have a cold snap right before 2 weeks before Christmas, or a week before Christmas. So this is going to come in real handy for any of you newbies, new listeners to the show, that this is your first winter. So please pay close attention. And Rookie Roundtable is on episode 126. If you want to see the videos and the slides that I'm doing, if you're a podcast listener, you can go to Rumble, BitChute, and then YouTube. So, weather can change on a dime. From good weather, sunny skies, to all of a sudden you find yourself in the median in hip-deep snow. Are you ready for these changing conditions? Do you know how to handle it? I've come up with a list, and there's a bunch. Everybody has tips and tricks out here, but I've come up with a list of some tips for winter weather driving. First one, always check the weather before you leave on your trip. A lot of guys this last week got stranded out on 70 because this winter weather came in and they didn't check the weather. I had to go all the way south to Pueblo, over to Garden City, Kansas, back up to Oakley, Kansas to get back on 70 to go around this blizzard. I did not get stuck in Denver, and I had good running. It was very windy, but I had good running. But you always check your weather. They closed that interstate down at 4:30 in the morning, and there was still guys running at 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night that had no clue that the interstate was even shut down. Always check your weather before you leave out on a trip. Always carry a set of snow chains or snow socks for your tires. They come in duals, they come in singles. They also come for super single tires. And you make sure you have enough. You need 4 for the truck, and you need 2 for the each side for the drive axles. And then, which is usually on a truck or for all 4, outside the drives. I got socks on mine. And then you need at least 2 sets for the trailer, depending upon where you're going. Always have a CB in your truck if your company allows you to have one. Ask your safety, ask the mechanics or whatever if you could put a CB in your truck. You don't have to talk. You don't have to listen to it all the time. But it's a good tool to have in your truck for changing weather conditions. If there's black ice out on the road, if there's an accident ahead, just listen to it. You don't have to say anything, and ignore all the idiots out there that just want to stir up a bunch of crap. That's what I learned to do. And I've been trucking, as you know, 34 years. I've always had a CB in my truck. I don't have the volume up a lot, but when conditions are bad or we're coming to slow down or something, yeah, I turn it up and I listen. Make sure that you're paying attention to the decreasing temperatures. So about the black ice, when the temperature outside gets hovering between 29, I'd say, that's my personal opinion, and 30, 31, that wet road isn't necessarily wet. Always look for spray coming off of somebody else's tires. Somebody passing you, a car in front of you. Always look for spray. If you cannot see spray, slow your ass down. And I emphasize that because you'll be like that video, like that slide here in this video, where you're going to be in the median or the ditch or flipped over because you're just going too damn fast. And I don't want anybody to get hurt. So you just need to be professional out here and slow your ass down. Also pay attention to vehicles that are passing you, like I said. If the conditions get too bad, find a safe place to park. Safe places to park in bad weather, truck stops and rest areas. Where not to park in bad weather, unless you're stranded. On ramps, off ramps of roads, because then you're blocking the plows from doing their job. So never park on ramps or off ramps. Always try to find a rest area. And if you have to shut down early, you're shutting down for safety. And you could tell your safety department that. Don't tell them I said so, but yeah, that could be your argument with your safety department. Look, it's unsafe out here anymore. You know, no load is worth your life. That's another thing for you newbies. No load is worth your life. Always carry extra clothing with you. Here's some things you should have in your truck. Extra blankets. That little picture in the lower left, if you're looking at the slide, is a bunch of canned food. Extra water, extra warm clothes, coats, hats, mittens, scarves, sweaters, boots. Yeah, it's going to be a lot if you have a small cab in your truck. But it'll keep you warm if it gets too cold outside. Increase your following distance between you and the vehicle in front of you. That's prime reason to cause a rear end collision, is because you have to be on somebody's butt because you're in a doggone big ass hurry. You know, slow down, be reasonable about it. Following too close, the top screen, this could be you. You like your job? Don't let it happen to you, because that's a damn good way to lose your job. Jackknifing or laying it over in the median because you were going too damn fast. So I hope you enjoyed this tips and tricks of winter weather driving in this episode of the Rookie Roundtable. I so much appreciate you listening and staying to the end of the show. I hope that you have a very Merry Christmas, and may you get all the gifts that you want. And hopefully, you'll have a prosperous new year, and stay tuned for more episodes. I greatly, greatly appreciate each and every one of you who tune in to listen to me each week here on the cafe. If you wouldn't mind, please subscribe using the link below, or on CloudHub, please subscribe at the top of the page. I greatly, greatly appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. As I said, please, if you wouldn't mind, stop in if you're on Facebook and give us a like on Facebook. Also join our discussion group at Julia's Truck at Cafe Regulars. And if you wouldn't mind, subscribing to our newsletter at juliastruckatcafe.com/newsletter. So thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time. You have been listening to Julia's Truck at Cafe Truckin' News Hour. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Take care. Have a blessed day.